DIY fam, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are having a wonderful 2019 so far. The year is still fairly new, but it feels like it's going to go by really quickly. In this video, I'm going to be talking to you guys about some tips and tricks when it comes to handling my finances. I got this particular question when I did a video in the past about sort of how I track my revenue, my income, my expenses, and how that's one of the most important things that you really cannot overlook as a small business owner or as a freelancer. So I'd like to also thank the sponsors of today's video, which is Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community which has over 20,000 videos covering fields such as finance, fashion, design, business, entrepreneurship. Whether you're curious or you want to upgrade an existing skill you already have, I highly recommend Skillshare. I've been using them for, I don't know, 6-7 months now, and whenever I have something that I need to sort of learn or is a skill that I need to upgrade, I would just go there, check up classes, check up workshops, and learn what I need to know. Premium membership on Skillshare gives you access to unlimited classes and communities that are right for you and for your New Year's goal. So for anyone curious to check it out, I have linked it down below, and that link gives you access to 2 months free trial, no questions asked. So a class I started watching recently on Skillshare was called, I think, Bookkeeping for Freelancers by Emily Simcox. I believe that was her name, and she works for a company called Bench, and she just talked about the importance of bookkeeping, which is essentially the recording of financial transaction, your income, your expenses, your taxes, how to separate personal from business expenses, because that is something that is very difficult as someone who is self-employed and someone who is a freelancer. What is a business expense and what is a personal expense? She really broke them down in the video and went in depth. Alright, so let's jump into the main core of today's videos. The first tip I always give, and the first tip I got from the place I used to intern at, was to keep all of my receipts, whether it was from a receipt from a business lunch or from buying fabrics, from buying machines, from posting client work, to keep all of those receipts. And something I even did further from that was I got a book like this, you know, the type of books that come with this sort of transparent sheets, and I categorized the book according to months. So there is July, after that there is August, so on and so forth. So when it's time to go back to do my tax returns later on this year, it's easier for me to sort out through my expenses as they come. So if it's something that didn't have a physical receipt, say maybe an Amazon order or some service that you, maybe Shopify fee for your online store, or something that is more digital that doesn't have a physical receipt, I created a folder on my Dropbox account, or you can do that on your computer as well. And just like I categorize these receipts, I categorize those digital receipts as well. So I have 2018, and under 2018 I have Q1, Q2, and Q3, and under those different quarters I have the months as well. Believe me, when you start to really accumulate all of these things, if they are not organized properly, it can be a pain to go back to either look for a receipt or to look for a particular document. I actually learned this from George. He's the most organized human being on the planet, so he's always stressing on the importance of like organizing your documents properly, because when it's time to go back to search for something, it's a whole lot easier when you know exactly where it belongs. So tip number 2 is to record your sales. So I have an online store where I sell fabrics. These fabrics are from Nigeria. I actually record every single sale I have, where the buyer is from, how much they paid for shipping, if they got the particular item on promotion, so I'm able to track people's buying habits. I've noticed people prefer to buy when it's warmer because I sell colorful prints, so I know during the warmer seasons I need to create more active campaigns, social media content, because that is my season of sales. Whereas during the winter I would tend to do more discounts because I know people are more unwilling to buy Ankara fabrics, depending, but I've noticed people are more unwilling to buy prints during the colder months compared to during the winter months. And I also find out where my biggest buyers are from. For at the moment, it's like people in the US and people in the UK. So by recording each sale that you get, your customer's name, what they bought, how many they bought, you also get to see your best performing products. And from doing that, you also get to see who your most loyal customers are. And something I like to do with everyone that buys something from me, I always write a handwritten note, and that just makes the whole experience a whole lot more personal. I like to do a weekly income and expense sheet. So there are 52 weeks in a year, and for each week I would record what I spent my money on and how much money I got in that week, date by date. So today, for example, I haven't really done anything with money, but later in the evening I'm going to be posting fabric to a client. So when I come back, I'm going to record how much the postage cost, who I posted it to, and today's date as well. So at the end of the week, I can check out and see how much money I spent and how much money I made, and then I know, okay, next week I need to do more social media marketing to drive the store so I can sell more fabrics, or I need to cut back on how much fabric I'm buying, so that way I don't spend a lot of money and my books sort of balance out at the end of the month. I find doing this really helps to put me in perspective, because at the end of the week I look and I see, oh wow, I spent £500 on fabrics, on shipping, and then I only made like £200. So I know the following week we need to go in hard, we need to pray hard, and we need to just be smart about how we spend money. I'm going to show you guys how I create the weekly income and expense sheet. This is really simple. You can do it on a lot of apps. There are many apps on the App Store these days that you can use to record your income and your expenses, but I just do mine on Excel because it comes with my computer for free. And on that Excel sheet, I have several pages. There's a page for my sale report, and there's a page for my weekly income and expense, which is for my business. I also have another page that's for my personal spending, which eats a lot of my money, but I have that as well. So this is what the blank Excel sheet looks like, and it gives you a lot of room to work with. So we're just going to give this a name. Let's call it our weekly income and expense sheet. You can add the year if you want, but since this is just an example, I'm going to leave it at that. So next up, I'm going to divide it into two main chunks. I'm going to have date, income, date, expense, and amount. So the week above should be whatever week you're in. It can be week 30, week 47. Just start counting your week from the first week you started trading. So once that is written in, I'm just adding in my amount on the top section like so, and then date, expense, and amount for the expense side of the sheet. So for the income side, let's say I had a class on the 2nd of January on Airbnb, and that class I had to get fabrics, and the fabrics cost me £12. That would be an expense that goes with that class. And I'm just going to fill in another example. If let's say I had a pattern class on the 5th of January and I got £80 for that class, but later on in that week I had to post fabrics, and I had to post it to a client called, let's say, Tolu or Timmy, and I paid $2.95 because it was a UK shipping. Then I put that as an expense for that week. So these dates are just example dates. They're not really correct, just to give you an idea of what an income and expense weekly sheet should look like. So you do this every single week, and then at the end of the week you add up the sum for the income, you add up the sum for the expenses, and you highlight those sums in a different color of text. Your personal money from your business money is so God, it is so important. I had to get a business account because at some point I was making the money, but at the same time I was spending so much money and I couldn't really put my finger on what I was spending my money on. So I had to get a business account. Even though it comes at an extra cost, it is easier to control money going in and out of that account. And I have my personal account where I pay myself salary, and then from that money I can do my hair, I can buy clothes for myself, I can buy makeup, things for myself that are not completely related to my business. The next tip I would like to give is to identify your streams of income. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I do YouTube, so that gives me AdSense. I do sewing classes experiences on Airbnb, and I have a fabric store where I sell fabric. So those are my three main sources of income. I have other things I do on the side, but those are like my three main chunks. So each month I have a separate sheet where I record where my income goes in from those three main sources, and I can see how much money I'm making from my sewing classes, how much money I'm making from YouTube, from sponsored videos, so on and so forth. And then I have, to go with that same monthly income sheet, I have an expense sheet where those streams coming with their expenses, I put it there together. So by the time at the end of the month I add up, for example, I did 2 classes this month and I got £160, but those 2 classes cost me £50 to run because I had to get food, I had to make a goodie bag. By the time I subtract the expense from the income, I see how much profit I made, and I can then see which of these streams of income are the most profitable, which one do I need to invest my time in, and which one do I just need to either stop or just do less of. I also highly recommend you put aside some money at the end of the month for your taxes. Apparently it's around 20%. I stand corrected. It's around 20%. So 20% off of every money I get for a sewing class is supposed to be put aside for taxes. So I do that at the end of every month. So when it's time to do my tax returns, I'm not sort of presented with a lump sum of money that I don't have, but rather I saved gradually over the year towards that amount of money. Like I said earlier on, I'm not a pro. You guys, if you have any tips, if you have any suggestions, if you have any tricks, I always really recommend talking to an accountant, showing them your books, because there might be something that you are not recording that you're supposed to be recording. There might be some missing documents. So if you have an accountant friend, you can even hire an accountant for a day, so they just go through your books with you and just clarify things. But I really stress the importance of tracking your finances. It's something that breaks a lot of small business because they don't really monitor their transactions and they don't know what they're making money from and where their money is being wasted on. So if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Comment all of your tips, tricks, and ideas down below. If you already have an accountant, if you have any, wink wink tips that you could share with us, please share them down below. I hope you enjoyed this video all the same. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.